Hi everybody, and welcome to our very last Twitch livestream number 17. Look at my phone was repeating me. That's awkward. So good morning or good afternoon rather. This is it. This is our last one, week number 17. Thank you so much for those of you who are joining me and who have joined me throughout the semester. What I want to do is just kind of focus on what we have going on this week. Make sure I give you an opportunity if you do have any questions or thoughts or comments or anything like that. I will, of course, give you that Twitch extra credit question, and I'll, of course, post this later as a recording, which I imagine some of you are watching now. But this is it. Our class officially ends this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So just something to keep in mind. I will probably mention that a few times. In fact, here, let me put that in the chat. Remember that our class officially ends this Sunday night, December 10th at 11:59 p.m. Okay, just to make sure I put that in the chat at least once. This again is our last live stream in last week. So let's go ahead and head over to Canvas together and we'll take a look at what we have going on. If you scroll down, look at how far we have come. We are all the way right here, week number 17 weeks into the semester. So let's take a look at what we have going on. And this week, kind of a different week than usual. You don't have any reading, you don't have a discussion. This week is all about kind of closing stuff. So for this week, you have exam number 4, which is our final exam. And then, of course, there's a study guide. You have a little anonymous class closing survey where you can share some of your thoughts with me if you have any about the class. You have your experimental proposal project due. There's also the extra credit and then a little SLO student learning outcome question that the department has asked us to ask everybody. So let's go ahead and go through these components together. The first one that you have is our final exam, and exam number 4 is the final. They are one and the same. It has 48 questions. It's worth 50 points. Just like all of the other tests, you have 60 minutes to complete it. You get 1 attempt, so make sure you're ready and organized before you begin. You can use your notes, you can use your book, you can use anything at your disposal. But just as I've encouraged you to do all semester, make sure that you have studied and prepared. I would hate for you to run out of time because you're trying to look up the answers or try to understand a question. Canvas will stop you when your time is up. So just be mindful of the clock. You can always skip questions if you don't know them and come back to them. This one is a little bit different from the other exams in the sense that it does have a little bit of a cumulative element to it. So as always, just 1 or 2 more general reminders, try and make sure that you have good internet, that you have 60 minutes to take the test. Try not to wait till Sunday night when inevitably things are going to go wrong. So do all of those things to set yourself up for success. And then you obviously want to be studying the study guide. So if we take a look at that together, this exam is on this unit, right? So APA Formatting Part 3, Chapter 14, and Chapter 4. So on the 3 things that we've covered since the last exam, but there is also a little bit of a cumulative element to it. And so what I've done is given you the big topics that I will ask you about on the exam. So in addition to knowing, these things like you would for every test, make sure that you're also really familiar with these really big concepts. These are things that we've been covering all semester. Hopefully they're kind of intuitive at this point. But things that I might ask you about include scientific thinking versus more like common sense and intuition. Know the different types of claims, that know about the 4 validities, be able to identify each of them, correlation directions and strengths, so positive and negative and 0, either with a scatter plot or maybe even Pearson's R. Be able to identify the dependent and independent variables in an example. How do we know if it's correlation versus an experiment? And then samples versus populations and different sampling methods and problems. So these are the things that I will ask you about that are kind of beyond this unit. And what I've done is picked really big core concepts that we've covered all semester and things that you really should at this point be pretty comfortable and familiar with. So hopefully this little cumulative section isn't too stressful for you. It's about 10 questions or so of the exam, but make sure you kind of brush up on these topics if any of them feel a little far away or a little hazy to you in any way. So that is the exam. It's right here, 50 points. Study guide is there and available for you. Make sure you prepare and study. Again, I would write everything up and kind of have it in front of me, but that's me. That's how I tend to do things. So completely up to you. Hopefully you have a good idea of how to prepare at this point. A lot of you have done just absolutely wonderfully on the exams. There's also a little anonymous closing survey. So if you would like to give me any feedback, I have no idea who submits what. It's all anonymous. It's not worth any points. But this is your opportunity. If there was something that you really liked or didn't like, something you'd like to share with me anonymously, you are more than welcome to do it here. It's not required, but I did want to leave that there for you if you were interested in sharing any feedback. The other big thing, though, that we have this week is that experiment proposal project. And this is worth 60 points, so it's worth more than an exam. I definitely want you to spend some time on this. This should be something that you've been working on a little bit now for some time. And what I did is I gave you 3 sample papers and 3 sample flyers. Several of you were asking me, I don't know what you want me to do for the flyer, or I'm not sure what the paper should look like. So what I did is posted 3 samples of each. People who got A's on them in the past, and I thought that might ideally be helpful. So for example, if you click on this, you can see how this person formatted their paper. I did remove the names, of course, to keep that anonymous. But if it ever opens here, there's wind, so of course the internet is slow, though it doesn't look like it's that windy anymore. We'll see. We'll keep waiting here. I wait impatiently. I start clicking. I'll give it a second here. Look, I'll take a sip of coffee. Give it a second. Still no, huh? All right. Let's see here. Let's close this. Well, hopefully it'll open here in a moment. What I did, though, is give you 3 sample papers so you could see how somebody formatted it, kind of what you need to do. Let's try a different one here. Maybe that one's just slow. Sample paper 2. Let's see. Maybe social media. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. So you can see they have a title page here. It's formatted correctly and properly with all that information. There's an abstract, which is on its own page, right? And then it picks up into the paper. You can see all the headings and everything. And again, this should be something you spend a lot of time on. So I wanted to give you a couple of examples of what that might look like. I also have a couple of examples of the sample flyer. This is just a 1-page thing that you're putting together. And so this one was about SSRIs, help us with our research. Should have some images, kind of be, kind of a highlight of what you're doing and so on. So I thought these were some good examples. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, you might take a look at the samples that I posted for you, and hopefully that will be helpful. But let's really quickly, when we went over this quite a bit a few weeks ago, but just to highlight one more time, this is where you are submitting that experiment proposal project. You'll hit start assignment and then you can upload your files. And I didn't restrict the file type because you probably will have a video and then maybe an image and then also your paper. So in general, this is worth 60 points. And remember, there are a couple of elements to it. There's the paper. There's also the digital flyer and then the short 2-minute or less video. So let's go through this really quickly. This should be roughly 5 to 7 pages, including the title page and the abstract. The abstract should be its own page, same with the title page. Standard margins, APA style, typed double space and APA style font. So you'll have a title page, which should follow all of the APA guidelines. You'll have an abstract with kind of a little summary of your experiment and what you might expect to find. And then you'll have a method section. This should be a really big part of your paper. Your method section is where you're showing off to me that you understand, if you were to conduct this experiment, how you would set it up. And I'm looking to see that you're addressing the following things. You're going to talk about the participants in your study. How many people will be in it? What is the age, gender? Give me enough information that I know what you're doing. If somebody wanted to, in theory, do this or replicate this, they could. How will your participants be selected? Describe your sampling procedures, be detailed. How will you avoid any possible issues related to sampling? I'm looking to see here that you can show me that you understand how to avoid common threats to external validity. Then you're going to have a whole area about design. I want you to tell me, what kind of experiment is it? Is it between subjects, within subjects? Is it mixed? List each independent variable and how it will be operationalized. Give me the different levels or conditions that are involved. Give me each dependent variable and how it will be operationalized and measured. Be sure to discuss how participants will be assigned to their groups and conditions. I'm looking here to see that you understand how to avoid threats to internal validity. So how are you setting up your experiment in a proper way to ensure internal validity? Finally, you're going to talk a little bit here about procedure. What's going to happen? Describe what your participants will be doing from the time they begin the study to the moment they finish. Within this, be sure to stress the similarities and differences between the different groups and conditions. When writing this up, be mindful of potential confounds and the pros and cons of whatever design you've selected. You're going to want to avoid any confounds or control for any disadvantages of your study wherever possible, or at least discuss them and make sure that you show me that you understand them. You'll have one last section on discussion. This should be like relatively brief, but you're going to discuss what are your predictions? What do you think would happen if you actually did this experiment? What are some limitations or ethical issues, if any, that might need to be addressed? You could also talk a little bit about what are some future directions for study. So if this were done, where could we go from there? What are some other areas that we could study related to it? So that paper portion, again, 5 to 7 pages, should be like really well thought out. It's worth 45 points, so almost as much as an exam. And then you have 2 smaller components worth 15 points together. The digital flyer, right, is worth 10 points. And this is just kind of a 1-page document highlighting your project. Make sure it's typed. It should have images in it. It should be catchy, ideally. And again, I have some samples on the previous screen. And then you'll create a short video 2 minutes or less. I want this to be really short because otherwise the file size might be too big and you'll struggle to upload it. But just kind of give me a quick overview of what you want to do. It's just a chance for me to see you and have you talk about your work. I think it'll be really kind of nice. So all of this is due, oh, sorry, it says the May 16th, right? Our class will be long done by then, and it would be summer. Can you imagine? I'm ready for summer. That sounds nice. So this is due by this Sunday, which is 12/10, right? So sorry about that. Let me fix that really quick. 12/10. So this Sunday night before 11:59 p.m. Okay, and again, this is a big part of your grade. Are there any questions at all about the experiment proposal project, about the elements of it, about what I'm looking for? Does anyone have any questions at all before I talk about the last couple smaller elements for this week? I just want to make sure if you have questions, you have a chance to ask. I'll wait just a second to make sure, let you catch up. You're mostly confused about the participant section. So in the participant section, if we go back, and thank you for asking, if we look at the instructions, so what I tried to do for you is kind of break down what I want you to talk about. All right, so roughly, how many participants do you think you would have in your study, right? And you could pick like kind of a rough number. If it's something, you know, do you think you need a lot? Do you think you need a little? Like, make your best guess. And then I want you to talk about like, where are you going to get those people? Where are you going to find your participants, right? And again, you're not actually doing any of this, so it's all theoretical. But where would you find them? How would you do your random sampling to avoid that threat to external validity, right? So how are you going to gather all of that? What is your population? What is your sample? So think about, and you could always go back and look at that chapter a little bit more that talks about sampling and populations and samples. That might be helpful for you as well. But let's say you want to have like 200 people. Right? And what age are you looking for? Are there certain demographics? Like, do you want people who are married or single or both, or religious or not religious? Or like, what is it that you're studying? And what kind of group of people would you need in order to answer that? And then how are you going to find them? So I hope that helps a little bit. You're kind of just highlighting. And again, what I would consider doing is look at these 3 sample papers and see how they attacked that section on participants. That might be really helpful for you in seeing what they did. Okay, great. I'm glad. All right, I'm going to keep going. If you think of any other questions, you can ask me at the end. There is a little tiny thing here called SLO questions. It's not worth any points, but please take a moment to answer this. It should literally take you maybe a minute, two at the most. It's just a couple of questions. And what it is the psychology department's way of gathering information about the objectives for the class and did you meet them. This should be ridiculously simple to answer for this class. I hope that's the case, but please take a moment to do it. There will be a recording of this that I'll post shortly, and then I'll obviously give you the extra credit here in just a moment. One last opportunity to remind you, and thank you so much to those of you who were on top of this all semester. Those of you who still have the little like football cake and crown next to your name, there's a few of you in here. Just shout out to like Kelsey and Marisol. Let's see if there's anybody else. Those are the two I see in the chat. But if you have one last opportunity to just make sure that you're subscribed, especially if you're watching this as a recording later, that's how you can still get those 2 points of extra credit. I just really appreciate those of you who did that. It saved me some time. I know there are some barriers to doing this, and it can be a little tricky, but thank you for those of you who did. Let me give you the extra credit question. This is our last extra credit question. It makes me sad. I'm a sentimental person. I don't like when things are over at the end. It makes me sad. So week number 17, Twitch extra credit. So here's the question for you for this week. Kind of an easy one. You could easily answer this. It's just your opinion. Give me one specific thing that you enjoyed about this class and one specific thing you would change to make it better. Right, so I'm always trying to make this class better, every class I teach, and in the spirit of research, gathering some data from you here. So what's one specific thing that you liked or you would want to keep doing, and what's one thing that maybe you might change or maybe make better in some way? And when you're ready to answer that, that's right here. That's optional Twitch extra credit number 17. And then up at the top, you hit the little start assignment button. And then you can type your response in the box and hit submit. And if you've been doing these all semester, it adds up to like 30 points of extra credit. And a few of you have been on it every week. I love that. I think it's fantastic. Otherwise, you can definitely get at least the 2 points for this week, kind of an easier question. But make sure you get going on the stuff for this week. Again, everything due by the end of our class, which is this Sunday night, the exam, the closing survey, the experiment proposal project, and then the SLO question and extra credit if you are interested. Okay, and I think that's everything that I wanted to go over with you. Thank you all so much for a wonderful semester. It feels like it went by really fast, but August feels like a long time ago. So what I will do is I will hang out for a little while. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, good luck with your other finals. I hope you all have a fantastic, well-deserved winter break. I hope it gets cold again. This hot weather is throwing me. I'm ready for like winter and it's like 80 today. But I hope you all have a wonderful break. Good luck with everything. Thank you so much again. I'm going to minimize this just so I'm not staring at myself. But I will hang out for a little while if you do have any questions at all for me. Otherwise, you're welcome to get going on this week's materials. And thank you all so much. Again, you're welcome. Thank you as well, Marisol. Thank you so much. And I am still here if any of you think of any questions. I just minimized the video so I wasn't staring at myself, but I am here if you think of anything. All right, it looks like everybody has logged off, but me, if you're still here and I missed you somehow, sorry about that. But if you think of any other questions, please feel free to email me. Otherwise, again, thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful break.